Habertürk.com'dan herkese merhabalar. Ben İrem Kuşoğlu Görgü. Ülkelerin enerji dönüşümleri, savaş ve jeopolitik gerilimler sonrası enerji dinamiklerinin değişimi ve yenilenebilir enerjiye dair projelerin anlatıldığı özel serimiz Yenilenebilir Avrupa'da bugün Belçika İstanbul Başkonsolosluğundayız. Yanımda ise Belçika İstanbul Başkonsolosu Tim van Anderlecht var. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks a lot for coming.
So I would like to start with the wind power. Wind power is a significant part of Belgium's energy mix. So could you provide details on the latest projects and including their scale, expected output and technological advancements?
Yeah, sure. So indeed, wind power, as of today, it's almost 20% of our energy mix, electricity mix. And roughly 50% of that is onshore and 50% of that is offshore. The total capacity is 5 gigawatt. And it's actually the wish of our government to significantly increase the offshore capacity. Belgium is a small country, but we're located at the North Sea. And the North Sea has a huge potential for offshore wind energy. It's a shallow sea, so it's very easy to install offshore wind energy. There's lots of industry located close to the shore, so the distribution cost is very low, and there is lots of wind. So actually already at the end of last year, we issued the first tender for the Princess Elizabeth zone, which is going to become our electricity hub. In the zone, we're going to link all the existing offshore capacity, and the zone will also be the arrival point for the network, which we're going to have with all the North Sea countries, such as Germany, Denmark, the Netherlands, the UK, Norway will all work together. So last year we tendered 700 megawatts, and then this year and next year we'll tender another 1,200 megawatts and 1,400 megawatts. So those are the big developments in wind on the medium term. On the long term, the North Sea network is going to be increasingly important. All the North Sea countries will actually install capacity, and at some point we're even going to reach a surplus capacity where we can then actually start using that surplus capacity on moments when we don't need the electricity to produce green hydrogen, which we can then use for all kinds of other applications later.
And I would like to also ask you about the energy crisis. How has the energy crisis, especially following the geopolitical tensions, influenced Belgium's approach to accelerating energy adoption? And could you tell us a little bit more about the current initiatives in green transformation and energy?
Yes. By answering this question, let me start by just giving you an overview of our current green energy situation. Belgium is a small country. We are densely populated. We have quite a bit of heavy industry, no oil, and actually very little natural gas. So we're heavily dependent on imports. But even in that situation, with all the initiatives we've taken over the last year, as of this year, green energy is 30% of our electricity production. It's a share which we're obviously going to increase. And I think that the Russian invasion in Ukraine actually has acted as a kind of catalyst for that evolution. Because the Russian invasion was a price shock and it was a supply disruption. So what have we done on the short term? Well, if there is a supply shock and the prices go up, demand must go down. So we've all taken all kinds of measures to decrease the consumption. Prices went up, so our government had taken measures for, I would say, the most vulnerable people, for them to help them to pay their bills. And it also changed our approach to nuclear. Under previous governments, nuclear was going to be phased out. The new government has taken the decision that at least until 2036, we'll keep nuclear. We actually prolonged the life cycle of the existing generators, and we'll also add extra small capacity. What are we going to do on the midterm? Well, basically, we want to become independent of, I would say, unreliable suppliers. We'll do that by looking for new suppliers. For example, the North Sea network, which I talked about, but also other liquefied gas suppliers. And we're going to increase our own capacity, which is going to be mainly green capacity. The energy policy of our new government is based on 3 pillars. It's to ensure the security of the supply, it's to make it affordable, and it has to be green. But green means we will be technology neutral. It has to be carbon neutral. So for us, nuclear will also be part of that mix. The kind of measures or the kind of things, I think they're fairly well known. It's in mobility, it's in the efficiency of buildings, it's in the way it's produced, those kind of things.
Given the recent energy crisis in Europe, how is the country, your country, adapting its energy security and diversification strategies? And what steps are being taken to ensure that the country's energy system is more resilient?
Well, it's mainly to work on the security of our energy supply, and it also means to reach our climate transition ambitions. On the supply of the energy, well, you can actually reach that in 2 ways. You can lower your consumption and you can increase your supply. Lowering the consumption, actually energy consumption in Belgium is already lowering every year. And even though there is more and more electrification, actually electricity consumption is lower than economic growth. So we'll continue that path. And actually that lowering of consumption is basically reached by becoming more efficient. Especially lots of efforts are being done in the energy efficiency of buildings and of production processes. When it comes to the supply, as I've already said, we are currently, since the Russian invasion, we are diversifying our supply and will increase our own capacity. That can be nuclear, but it will be mainly solar and wind energy. Those 2 are important for Belgium because actually they're complementary. In Belgium, when the sun shines, there tends to be less wind, and when the wind blows, actually it's most of the time not sunny. And they're actually very important because the big difference with carbon sources such as oil and gas is that it's a model where you just pay up front, you consume the energy, and it's gone. Many people thought 10 or 15 years ago that solar in Belgium or in Northern Europe in general was actually not such an intelligent idea because we don't have as much sun, for example, as Turkey does. But what we see today is that actually on sunny days, energy prices, electricity prices are already negative because of the installed capacity. And just as I said earlier with wind energy, in the future we're going to go to a situation where there will be so much capacity that actually there will be a surplus capacity, which we then also can then use for green hydrogen. And it also increases our resilience in a way that we will become independent from foreign suppliers. Because with all the capacity present, the production is going to be local and it won't be international anymore. Then for the transition, we are a member of the European Union. We signed to the Paris Agreement. We've taken on lots of engagement. And in the future, well, we'll work to get there.
Are there any incentives or programs that are in place to encourage the citizens and stakeholders and businesses to adopt renewable energy solutions?
Actually, there are plenty. And they take all kinds of forms and shapes. Well, I think the most well-known is subsidies. In Belgium, you can get subsidies if you want to make your house more efficient. For example, if you want to install a charging station for your electric car, There are subsidies if you want to put solar panels on your roof. There are subsidies if you want to place a heat pump to replace your gas heating system. But for example, in Belgium, lots of people actually have company cars. And since a few years, company cars can only be electric cars. And this has hugely helped us actually to already make our national car park more green. There are all kind of benefits if you install smart batteries and smart meters in your home. And on the solar model works mainly with subsidies because people install it on their own roof in their own neighborhood. But we're also now trying to actually involve citizens in the wind power production. Usually the wind parks or the big mills, they are installed by an energy producer. And for example, in the park in the North Sea, but also in wind energy and onshore, actually right now in the tendering, companies get more points if they have some kind of citizen involvement. Actually, because, for example, nobody wants to have a big windmill in his backyard. But if the whole neighborhood is involved and if they are co-shareholders of this wind capacity, and if they actually co-own it and also enjoy part of the benefits, that changes the whole dynamic. So, for example, in the new tendering, which is going to take place in the North Sea, the consortia will get extra points if they do citizen participation. Another element which I wanted to underline is that as a small country, we don't have huge mountain ranges or desolate areas where we can install big capacity. R&D is very important and innovation. So, for example, in the North Sea, in the park, Seavolt is a consortia of a few big electricity producers. What they're going to do, and which is a first in the world, is we're actually going to have floating solar parks in between the windmills which are standing there, which is actually a smart use of that area because usually it would be lost. Because it's in the sea, it's actually very easy to orient them east in the morning, south at noon, and west in the afternoon. Another R&D initiative, it's called Energieville in Hasselt, in the region of Flanders. Energieville is interesting because it's based on a model which we have for nanotechnology in Flanders as well, which is called IMAC. IMAC is a front runner globally in terms of nanotechnology. And Energieville does the same, it offers the same kind of open innovation platform. That means that companies, universities, research institutes from Belgium, but actually internationally as well, if they have ideas which are still in the prototype model, and especially on solar energy, they can actually come there, use the capacity which is there to build their models, test them, and then afterwards put them into production. And out of Energieville, a lot of interesting solar applications have come. For example, I mean, everybody knows solar panels on the roof, but there they made actually solar roof covering or solar covering for cars, where your car is actually completely covered by a solar panel. Or even, and they're apparently already cheaper today, it's actually cheaper to put, instead of a normal fence around your garden, it's actually a fence made out of solar panels, which is, it's cheaper and it produces energy as well. So also the government is actually giving a lot of R&D initiatives to fasten the energy transition.
And also I would like to ask you about the nuclear. As other countries, such as France, continue to rely on nuclear power for their energy needs. What role does the nuclear energy play in the country's overall energy strategy? And are there any plans to expand its use in the future?
Nuclear plays a big role in our energy production. Like I said, we don't have oil. We have limited natural gas. So today, nuclear is 40% of our electricity production. And with the invasion of Russia by Ukraine, it has become clear for government that it's also in the future it will continue to play an important role. Government has decided to extend the life cycle of the existing reactors, and we want to increase production. Whether that's going to be small scale or large scale hasn't been decided yet, but it will remain an important part of our energy mix.
How can the expansion of Belgian companies in Turkey and the Turkish companies in Belgium deepen the strategic partnership between two countries and contribute their shared goals?
Yes. Well, actually, our country is already collaborating. For example, Belgium, together with the Netherlands, we are the two main players when it comes to dredging. Dredging companies are incredibly important, for example, for offshore oil and gas projects. And as of today, Belgian companies have been active in the Black Sea and in the Mediterranean for Turkish contractors for the Turkish energy project. When it comes to renewables, there are some interesting new developments. Last year, in October, a delegation of the Turkish Ministry of Energy went to Belgium, where we actually tried to showcase some of the R&D and some of the innovation we are doing. They went to the North Sea to visit the Princess Elisabeth Zone. They went to see what the Seafold, the floating solar panels, is going to be, and they also went to the incubator in Hasselt, Energyville. Nothing concrete has come out of it as of yet, but it was a first step, and our people will continue to work on that. In the other direction, for Energy, which is a small innovative Belgian company, which actually produces high-capacity batteries with a much bigger capacity than what is currently available on the market. They are looking at Turkey. They were here a few weeks ago, and they're actually planning either to distribute here or to set up shop here. So the first seeds have been sown, and I'm confident in the future this collaboration will only intensify.
And lastly, Belgium and Turkey have a long and rich history of cooperation. How has the country collaborated with Turkey in the field of energy, and what areas do you see having the most potential for the cooperation between two countries?
Yes, our cooperation goes way back. Actually, at the end of the 19th century, Belgium was one of the first industrialized countries on the European continent, and our entrepreneurs were quickly internationalizing their activities, and they were also very active in the Ottoman Empire. And actually today in Istanbul you can still see some of the important landmarks which are also energy related in Istanbul. So for example, Metrohan, where the tunnel goes down, was actually built by Petrofina, a Belgian oil company, which was also active in the electrification of the tramways. The gas development of Kadıköy was done by Belgian investors at the time. So our collaboration goes way back. Right now, I would say that the most important actors are the dredging companies, but in the future, our green transformation is not going to stop. With what's going on the European level with the carbon trading system, with the carbon tax that's going to come, Turkish suppliers of Belgian companies will also have to work together and see how we can achieve those goals together. So I actually see that energy and green energy will become an increasingly important part of our bilateral cooperation.
Thank you so much for welcoming us here once again and answering this question.
Thanks a lot for coming. Always happy to have you.